Hi everyone, this is Teresa at Owl's Nest Quilters, and today's foot demonstration is on the fringe foot. This is Brother Fringe Foot, unique in that it has a guide in the center and it's raised. So you can see from the side, this has the guide here is kind of raised up beyond the foot a bit. This is going to act as a guide and as well as what makes the fringe. The thread will loop over the top of this to create that raised fringe. So what we're going to do, this is just a simple clip-on foot. So we're going to clip this onto the machine, and I have on here a spool of King Tut variegated thread because it really looks great in variegated thread. So to set up for this particular stitch, you want to use a zigzag, and you're going to want to shorten the length of this and narrow it slightly. You might want to experiment with that a little bit. You'll get some different looks with it. When you widen out the stitch, your fringe is going to be shorter. When you narrow up the stitch, there's less space in between the stitch points, and you will get a longer fringe. So for this particular stitch, I'm going to narrow up to about a 3 width, and my length is going to be I'm going to narrow my length down to about a 0.3 because I want this more satin stitch length so I get a nice full fringe. And the way this is going to work, I'm going to put this underneath my machine. And if you have a particular place you want this to go, you can draw a line or a guide of some kind to guide yourself along. So we're going to lower the foot, and as we start to stitch, you're going to see, at first it actually kind of looks like it's not moving, but it is satin stitch length, so it's going to move rather slowly. But what's really cool is as it comes out the back, you're going to see how it raises up. It's kind of way spaced above the fabric. That's what that guide in the front does. It stitches over the top of that, and instead of pulling the tension and having it lay flat on the fabric, it kind of stitches on top of that guide and creates that really cool little channel of thread there. So you can see how cool the variegated looks with the different colors. Makes for great fringe. And we can also curve this if you want to give it some wave. You can sit and you can kind of make it wavy. Now once we get to the end of our thread, or the end of our column, we're going to stop sewing. This is another stitch that you don't want to use the thread cutter on. You want to take and pull this off. You must do it out the back. Kind of grab closely to where you ended and pull. This is very loose, so when you pull it out, if you pull on the thread on this side, you can unravel this quite a bit. So you want to grab it here when you're pulling it out of the machine, and then just cut it on your thread cutter, and you have this really cool column of loopy threads. So it can be used this way. When I use it this way, I like to take and fray check the back, so that the loops, if you get the loops caught, then they're not going to pull out. At least they're not going to pull out easily. So if you'd like to use it this way, fray check the back, and then you've got a fun little column of loops. Now if you want to make fringe, what you need is a very sharp and pointed pair of scissors. And what you'll do is you'll slide the scissor and gently push through. You don't want to pull at all. You want to just kind of slide it under the loops and cut. And you're cutting right on the top of that loop there. So what this does is it separates the loop, and you get two sides that turn into your fringe. So if I separate this, what I generally do is I take a small iron, like the Clover iron that has the little 1-inch iron head on it, and I'll run this down the middle so it kind of presses these down to the side. Once you get that clipped and pressed, you're going to get something that looks like this. On these examples here, I use the same zigzag stitch. Same settings and everything. And once I press these and they lay flat, you can anchor all this fringe down with a tight little zigzag right down the middle. So you can see I've done the same thing here as with here. And that creates that look of that fringe. This is a great stitch to use around the cuff of a shirt. Again, you can make a fun little block for a quilt out of this if you want something fun for a child's quilt. Just lots and lots of different uses. So that's Brothers Fringe Foot.
Owl's Nest Quilters, because you love to create.